You are listening to Central Indiana Sports Central, your daily update on the Pacers, Colts, IU, Purdue, IndyCar, the Fever, Ball State, Butler, and, of course, the best high school sports coverage in Central Indiana.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Central Indiana sports fans, and welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Reports, Central Indiana Sports Central, the hub of the Central Indiana Sports Report, your daily update in a half hour or less, although I think we're going to go a little over that today because we had some big news, late breaking news, after we'd recorded everything else. That news is a bit of bad news as Tri-Central is shutting down its varsity football season prematurely after having some injuries and not enough players to continue. Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader and I talked with Tri-Central Athletic Director Andy Steele about the situation. Then Michelle and I spoke with the Indianapolis Stars prep reporter Kyle Neddenriep on the big games coming up this weekend and him beating our entire staff in our Week 1 picks competition. I will make my comeback starting in Week 2. I'm in last place, by the way. I also spoke with our IndyCar guy, Elijah Poe, who's on assignment in West Lafayette this weekend covering Ball State football, but had a preview of the IndyCar weekend in Milwaukee for us. Look for his Purdue Ball State football preview on Friday. And his recap of the IndyCar race in Nashville on Sunday. Rob Hunt of the Herald-Bulletin witnessed an incredible performance, as he said, the first really big performance of the fall season by Anya Zoeller of Pendleton Heights of the Madison County Cross Country Meet. Michelle Garmon helped me through the whole thing. Then she recapped the Frankton-Elwood boys tennis match that she covered earlier Wednesday and gave an update on the great start of the season for Tipton's tennis team. We start with Tri-Central Athletic Director Andy Steele. We started by asking him what the situation is with the football program at Tri-Central.
Unfortunately, our numbers were low at the beginning of the year. After the Madison-Grant game, Coach and I and our administrator were talking. We won't have enough to play against Westdale, so as we kept talking about this, we met with the players, the coaches, our school board, and admin last night, and we all kind of came to an agreement that, like, with our numbers being as low, and I mean, here's the issue. We have 2 seniors, 1 junior, the rest are going to be freshmen and sophomores. We just thought if we could play a JV schedule, get these kids some reps, get them some experience this year, and then maybe we can build towards having a varsity schedule next year and take it from there. It just wasn't feasible for us to have a varsity schedule with our numbers right now.
This way, I think when you have all those young kids, when you play a JV schedule, they can be competitive. It's hard for freshmen and sophomores to be competitive against juniors and seniors.
And I know we ended up quitting right before halftime of the Master Grant game, but I mean, our kids were out there just, busting their tails every play they could. They gave everything out there, and right now we're just outmatched. And I mean, if you look at our schedule, we have conference. Our conference is really, really tough this year. And we want to get back to being competitive and playing Tri-Central football, and we just need some time to do that. And we got to build these kids up with experience and get them some reps now.
Now, so because you are going to play the JV, though, are you still going to hand out letters, especially for some of those kids that had earned them last year and are back out?
Yes, I believe that's the right thing to do. And this is not on the kids by any means. They deserve a varsity award, and I'm going to make sure they get it.
Okay. Now, how are your numbers in the junior high? I mean, does it look promising?
And I mean, with looking at really a lot of the junior high around us who were playing, we're going to have one junior high team There's a couple other schools we're going to play. Only have one junior high team. I think we were kind of divided evenly between 7th and 8th graders. And we're at 16, I believe, 16 or 17 off the top of my head on that. So we'll have some decent junior high kids coming up being freshmen next year. So we're going to kind of play it by ear. I've kept our conference in the loop on this. They all kind of agreed that this is going to be what's best for us. They know, and they're out looking, and some of them already got games for the week we're playing them, so they're not going to lose out on any games either.
Coach, have you heard from any other athletic department that has successfully dropped down to JV and then gone back up to varsity?
I haven't personally reached out to anybody. I've been in contact with the IHSA this week about that, and I actually brought up the issue with, I know Westdale girls basketball did this a couple years ago, and from my understanding is their numbers are getting better, and they're playing JV varsity level. And that's what we want to do. We want to keep our kids safe as much as possible on this. And we all agree this is football. You know, there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way, just playing this kind of physical sport. But yeah, we can't throw out a bunch of 15-year-olds against 18-year-olds. It's not realistic right now. And we're going to just build the program back up to where we're going to be playing competitive varsity football.
If you do that and you go out and you lose big, and injuries and the numbers dwindle, and kids today, if they
don't want to take a beating and lose.
Losing's not fun, and they get made fun of, and
you get beat
and on
up.
social media, and so then they don't want to come back the following year. So this is probably a great move.
And it's not like basketball where you're not very good, you don't get beat up physically. Football, if you're not very good, you get beat up physically.
And I'm not. Basketball is definitely a physical sport, but it's nowhere near how it is at football. And again, we came together as a community, and this was a decision from the community. Like, it wasn't just me doing it. It wasn't our superintendent. It wasn't just the school board on this. Like, we got together as a community and thought, this is what's best for Tri-Central right now. Let's get some reps in, and let's build on this. And like, we talked with the players today, Coach Hagan and I, and we're like, hey, like this is where we start building this program back up, and this is where the junior, the seniors, this is where when we talk about this in a couple of years, this is where you guys' names are going to be brought up to where. We started a new foundation here, and your guys are going to be, kind of our building blocks from that.
Thanks so much to Andy Steele for joining us late in the evening after what had to be a very long day for him. Up next is who we expected to be our lead on Central Indiana Sports Central, and we expect to most Thursday mornings previewing the best games of the weekend in Indianapolis is the Indianapolis Stars' Kyle Neddenriep, who leads the Central Indiana Sports Report Media Picks competition with 115 points, just ahead of our Grant Schaus with Greg Mengelden last. You can get all the update on that and all of this week's picks, 40 games we picked, coming up later Thursday. Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Indianapolis Star preps writer Kyle Neddenriep. And Kyle, I used to run a high school football picks competition at the Jeffersonville Evening News, New Albany Tribune, and I won that thing every year. I knew you were going to be a challenge, but you are number one on our on the rankings right now. You had a really good week picking games in week one.
Did I really? I didn't even. Yeah, I kind of forgot. So that's good news.
115 points is what you got. Second place was 109, so you are in first place right now, ahead of Grant Schaus of the Action Sports Network. But we are here to talk about football, and man, what a weekend, Kyle! Westfield, Carmel.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. I can't wait to see. I mean, it was last year, and if you remember, that was the night that the storms came raining through, and and at first, I have to admit, I mean, I did not know the storm was coming, and it was kind of seemed perfect outside, and then all of a sudden, the lightning came through, and then honestly, I was sitting in my car probably, an hour after most people had left, just working on stuff, and it got really bad. So I'm glad they ended up calling it off. But man, the crowd was awesome. It was, I think it'll be just as good, if not better, this year with Carmel winning that first game and getting some momentum. You got the Kevin Wright factor. You got Westfield, obviously, with what they've done, coming off another state finals appearance. So everything kind of adds up for it to be just a great atmosphere. And I can't wait. That's the game I'm planning to be at Friday, and hopefully just Friday, not Saturday too. So we get it in on one night.
It looks like a good weather report right now.
It does. Yeah, it does. So this whole week's been awesome. So we got nothing to complain about from that standpoint. So
yeah, I'm worried about what's coming behind it.
I know.
How much has just the Kevin Wright coming back to Carmel, how much has that just rejuvenated the interest and the confidence in the Carmel football program?
A ton. I mean, I was out there probably, 3 weeks ago. I think it was the first practice day, actually. I went out there to talk to Kevin and, I obviously covered him a lot when he was here the first time, and from 2010 to 14, I covered a lot of those games and a lot of, talked to Kevin a lot during that time. So, you kind of knew already, from that standpoint, like, he was so successful at that time. Everybody knew who Kevin Wright was at that point, obviously, and he had success during that 5-year period. But then, he'd been away from it for a while. I think there was some, honestly, on his side, like, he didn't know for sure what kind of team he had, honestly, that, so this is kind of a feeling out period, and the first period, the first test went really well against Fisher. So
way better than I expected. I called it a toss-up.
I knew Fisher's a little light up front, but also Carmel only had one offensive lineman back from last year. So, but obviously they did great. I talked to Anthony Kollner this week, and he said the line, obviously they did a great job. And he did a great job at 300, 500 yards between rushing and passing. So, you can't, or the team did anyway, and he had a large chunk of that. So, but yeah, I mean, the confidence level, I think, and I think Kevin's influence, as Michelle, largely on offense is what he's done throughout his career. So you expected that side of the ball to have a pretty good boost. He's a very good offensive mind, and that's kind of where his talent goes toward. I mean, other than running the whole program, but he's an offensive guy, and I think his connection with Anthony's been, really helped him as a senior. And I think Anthony was in line for a good year anyway, regardless of who the coach was. But I think the fast pace they're playing with, just the the overall level of confidence within the team, and the talent level is pretty high too. I mean, they did have some injuries last year that kind of derailed their season a little bit, and that played a factor as well. But yeah, I think they're really riding high. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm actually picking Westfield to win this game, but I think it'll be. This honestly, I think is a toss-up type game. I would probably favor Westfield slightly just based on history, but I don't have any, I don't have any qualms about, someone picking Carmel either. I think it's going to be a really fun game.
Well,
Michelle did.
I did pick Carmel, and I picked it because of the Kollner family, because I know them. And
she's biased, Kyle.
I am biased, and I dog sit for it, but I was going to say, I know that Anthony, and I know his dad, and that family was really excited when Kevin got hired.
Couple other big games in the Indianapolis area this weekend, and give Cathedral any shot of going to Brownsburg and winning that game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got to respect Cathedral, and I think this Cathedral team is better than. I'll preface that by saying I think they're better in some areas than they were last year, and including both lines, the offensive and defensive line. Probably, a little bit more experienced and a little bit more physical up front this year. The receiver spot worries me a little bit just because, Cathedral had really good big-time playmakers at receiver last year. They're a little bit younger and inexperienced this year, and that's where I think if you're going to beat Brownsburg's a big play team. They can control the ball. They can do both. Cathedral, I don't know if they can make the big play. You're going to need some explosive plays. And if you don't get those, the question is, can Cathedral control the football and keep it away from Brownsburg? And that's where, I don't know if they can, I think they can do that some, can they do it enough and finish those drives? It's just hard when you've got to finish, drives, that are, where you're getting not huge chunk plays, So I think that's where Brownsburg has the advantage. That offense is really, really good. Brandon Sharp is one of the best receivers in the state, probably in the Midwest.
Probably in the country.
I mean, he's just really quick, really good athlete, and anytime he touches the ball, he can house it. And Avon Robinson's going to Central Michigan, so you got two guys that are just, and Cathedral's secondary is very good, so that'll be a fun matchup. Those two sides against each other. I just don't think, I don't think Cathedral can keep up point-wise with them, and I think Brownsburg will win. But I would never count out Cathedral. I would not be shocked if they – I'd be a little surprised, but not completely shocked if they went in and won. But it just feels like Brownsburg's got a lot of momentum, and I think they'll win. But I would not – again, I think Cathedral's pretty good. I think they're one of the best teams in the state. And, I'm just curious if they're going to have enough explosion on offense to keep up.
I have a feeling, Kyle, eventually we are going to see a Cathedral New Pal showdown in the postseason. Of course, New Pal and also has a big game this weekend and a matchup of a couple of state champions. I've been saying that I think this New Pal team is as good as any that they've ever had. Can they be that good, Kyle?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody today, just sort of had lunch with somebody, and they were – they're a football fan, and they're like, man, Cathedral's probably going to win 5A, right? And I'm like, well, New Pal, and they're like, oh yeah, New Pal's 5A. So
that's right.
It's sort of, but yeah, and then they're like, well, where will they see each other? Like, well, in the sectional. So yeah, that's
great.
Yeah, that's going to be a knockdown drag out, and Plainfield, unfortunately,
Plainfield's in it too.
Yeah, they're a top 10 team also, and they're in there. But
poor Anderson.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't think you're wrong about that. I think they probably don't have the big name like the Carson Steele or the Charlie Spiegel, that they've had in the past. But from
Mason
top to bottom,
Oglesby.
Absolutely, yeah, he's a stud.
They didn't even need him last week.
No, that shows how good they are, and they've got really good line play. They've got quarterback who's experienced and who's been there already. They have, good running back in Raines, whose brother's a great linebacker as well. So they've really got not a lot of weaknesses, and they did lose Michael Thacker from last year. He's a really good player who went to Ball State, explosive defensive lineman who made a ton of plays for him. But, it kind of says something when you lose him, and you might be even better even at that position, So that's saying a lot. Yeah, I think, and unfortunately, Decatur lost Bo Polston for probably at least several weeks in that Avon game. So he's going to be out. He had a shoulder injury right towards the end of that game, and just trading a few texts with him. He's definitely going to be out. He's hopeful he can be back, towards the end of the regular season, but that takes a huge chunk out of them just because he's a multi-year starter at quarterback. So. I hate that. It's a bummer to see that happen to a senior, especially. But at least it's not season ending. Hopefully, so hoping he can be back. But it takes a pretty good chunk out of what they do. They do have other really good players though. In Decatur, there's not as many teams out there, not very many teams out there that have the talent at the skill positions that they have. So. They'll still create some issues for New Pal, but that quarterback spot's just so crucial that I think it'll be tough for them this week. And New Pal, as you said, they're a machine. And Cathedral Brownsburg will be the last one. We mentioned that one earlier, and I forgot. But yeah, that'll be a good one too.
Yeah, Michelle and I were talking about if we could just pick one game on Friday, would it be Carmel-Westfield or would it be Brownsburg-Cathedral? That'd be a tough choice.
I'm not going to be surprised either way it goes. I think it's good for, it's good for fans that these teams are playing each other. And I said that about, the Copper Kettle game when that went off the schedule. I was like, and I got all these messages from players who played for Center Grove and Carmel, like, what are they doing? Why are we not playing? It's like, it's unfortunate. And that game is coming back next year, which is great. But,
good.
But yeah, I mean, you want rival teams. Westfield and Carmel just makes a whole lot of sense, and it's going to be a game I think that they should play every year. That's been a great atmosphere for basketball, and it's, last year for football is great too. So I'm hoping they continue to play each other.
Last question, Kyle. In Michelle's neck of the woods, today Tri-Central announced that they are canceling the rest of their varsity football season and playing a JV schedule. And we asked Andy Steele this. Has a program ever done this successfully, gone JV and then been in a good varsity program again? Do you know of any?
Yeah, I remember them. I remember some schools doing this, and off the top of my head, I can't remember who. And I remember there's some in other states who've done this before, and in different sports too, not just football. Maybe for whatever reason they were low on numbers and just had to play a lower schedule, and then came back the next year. I don't know. It's hard. I don't know their exact situation. Michelle probably knows more than I do, obviously, but. I don't know how much they're down. That's probably the hard thing, I guess, is if you don't play varsity and then, you come back the next year and, you probably lose some momentum, or kids who are in your system who, you kind of lose that continuity from year to year. But, I would think as long as they have the players still playing some level of football, and they're not just wiping the season out completely, that would be a good thing. I wish 8-man would catch on, and it just, there's been a few teams that play 8-man football. Waldron was playing last year. I know there's been a few, but, for some of these schools that can't consistently have enough, I wish our state here in Indiana, we just don't have the history. I think people kind of look down on 8-man football where, some states it's really, really taken off and been a great thing for some of the smaller schools and even schools that want to start football programs like Waldron did. So maybe that's an option in the future. And I think 8-man could be its own little, IHSAA, have a state championship and all that if you got enough teams to do it. I wish that would happen because I think there's schools out there that might consider it. I think for whatever reason, people kind of look down at it as kind of a lesser than version of football, but it's not. It's an awesome game. It's a lot of fun. It's high scoring, and it's still football. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that would be an option at some point for a program like Tri-Central that has low numbers.
Thanks so much again to Kyle. He kicks off our high school sports coverage every week on Thursday morning on Central Indiana Sports Central. Later Thursday, we will have our Week 2 previews and predictions, 40 games in Central Indiana with Michelle Garmon and Grant Schaus. On Friday, we will have our pregame coaches show. Friday night, we will release our scoreboard show. And then Saturday on Central Indiana Sports Central, it'll be more high school football. We'll hear from coaches and media every week. High school football, this is your place. Next is our IndyCar guy, Elijah Poe, here to preview the final IndyCar weekend of the season in Nashville. Normally, we would have an IndyCar report on Thursday, but Elijah is back at school and has other responsibilities, including going up to West Lafayette and covering the Ball State Cardinals at Purdue in the season opener in college football on Saturday afternoon, as well as his IndyCar duties, and he will be back after the race on Sunday to recap it. He will also have a Ball State Purdue football preview for us on Friday. Busy few days on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss a single podcast. And here's Elijah Poe with a Nashville preview. Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. IndyCar guy Elijah Poe. Elijah's busy schedule has changed our schedule this week. So we are going to take this opportunity on Central Indiana Sports Central to preview the weekend at Nashville, the final race of the IndyCar season, Elijah. And no championship is on the line, but as I've been saying, in IndyCar, every weekend's kind of its own championship.
It really is. And if we look back to last weekend with Christian Rasmussen winning on the Milwaukee Mile, coming up here to Nashville, we're going to have a similar situation where, anybody can really win this race. And like you said, even though the championship is decided, nothing's better than IndyCar on an oval.
And they've proven that. Every single oval this year has been fantastic. Elijah, we went into the Iowa race thinking those were going to be horrible races. They weren't classics, don't get me wrong, but they were good, solid races. And honestly, since that stinker out in the desert, it's been something like 15 straight really good to great races in a row.
Yeah, it's been really impressive. The formula IndyCar has brought for this 2025 season. You know, when we get off in that first half of the season, we don't have a whole bunch of winners, but especially in these last races, you've had Pato win, Palou, Will Power, and then Christian Rasmussen. And the races have been really entertaining as a whole. Not only do they play on great racecraft, I think IndyCar has really found a great way to deal out their strategies to different teams, because most often these races, you've always got at least 4 or 5 people who have either fuel saved or really pushing hard the whole race, and that just ends up for a great finish. And it really always leaves fans wondering, you know, what's going to happen.
Do you favor Palou going into the weekend?
I think it's hard not to favor Palou. You know, he was obviously so quick at the Milwaukee Mile, setting that pole speed by more than 1/7 of a mile an hour. And he's just an incredible race form. But I think you also have to look at the Andretti's, even though they were a little bit quiet here in Milwaukee last weekend. Colton Herta is obviously very, very good at Nashville. It's a race he's won before.
Wait, hold on there a second, Elijah. We're talking about Nashville, and you haven't brought up Joseph Newgarden yet.
Well, I was getting to that because the Penske's are always going to be there, and Joseph Newgarden, this might be his Super Bowl of the year, because everything else he's played has been JV football on a Saturday.
No doubt about that, but this is a special race to him. A lot of people say that they have races that they compare to Indy. I really believe that Newgarden cherishes the wins at Nashville.
You know, he obviously celebrates the heck out of those 500s, but Joseph Newgarden's also a person where, you know, he's proud where he comes from, and he loves this Nashville race. He's been very adamant about getting them back in downtown, and even has been super happy with them being at Nashville Super Speedway as well. Obviously, put him on an oval. He's going to be happy.
Let's do both.
Yeah, I would love for IndyCar to do both. I'd be interested to see what the market would look like. Hopefully, you wouldn't have people going to one race instead of the other, but man, both of them are just great racing venues.
They really are. That Nashville Oval would just be a shame if it went away, because the street courses, just to be honest, make more money.
And you could even do something where, you know, after St. Pete, when you've got that gap in time, maybe go to St. Pete and then go to Nashville on the Speedway, and then end out the season on the streets of Nashville. You know, there's a lot of things IndyCar could do, and I'll be interested to see what they do once they finally get that road course up and ready.
It's just probably Nashville is a little too north for a pre-Indy race. Maybe?
That could be the case. But, you know, I would definitely try to get down there pre-Indy, because, you know, having those 3-week gaps like we did at the beginning of the season and this year, it would just be unacceptable for next year.
They can't do it again. It was a loser this year, and plus one of those gaps filled was by a really bad race. So we went a long time without a good race, and then it's been nonstop since then.
Absolutely, it's been such a great season, and I'm thrilled to see it end off on a high note. It's crazy it's ending so early, literally the day before Labor Day, because man, I just wish I had some more races.
Everybody, make sure you tune in after the race on Sunday, when Elijah and I will talk about what happened at Nashville, along with likely Dave Chanley and Michelle Garmon, as we usually do. And also make sure you follow Elijah this weekend as he covers Ball State at Purdue, which we are about to preview as well. Elijah, tell everybody where they can find your work and how they can get your preview of Purdue Ball State.
Yeah, you can find my work. I'm the primary beat reporter for Ball State football for the Ball State Daily News, which is the student-run organization newspaper here at Ball State. And you can find me at X at ElijahPoe4.
I promised myself I was going to keep this thing to under a half hour, but sometimes when you have a last-minute story that you have to get in, we're just going to go a little over sometime. Coming up next is the Herald-Bulletin's Rob Hunt, who was at the Madison County / Arabian Roundup at Pendleton Heights on Wednesday evening and watched an absolute superstar performance by Anya Zoeller of the Pendleton Heights Arabians, a record-breaking day, and 2 more championships for the Pendleton Heights girls and for the Pendleton Heights boys. Here is Rob Hunt with the details. Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Rob Hunt of the Anderson Herald-Bulletin, who covered what I guess is no longer Madison County cross country, but is a similar meet with some Delaware County schools now. Rob, and how did it go out there tonight?
It actually still is the Madison County Championship. They've combined the Madison County meet and the Arabian Roundup, which is the other big meet that they held at Pendleton.
Interesting.
Holding it both at once, which is kind of a tricky proposition. But basically what they did was, all the Madison County schools, then you had the Monroe Central was there, Blue River Valley, Cowan, some of those other schools, Winchester. And then they just kind of separated the scoring. Like, they would just score the Madison County teams for the Madison County race. All the teams combined, including Madison County schools, for the Arabian Roundup race, which is all very confusing way of saying that Anya Zoeller is incredible.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess she won either way. I'm guessing she won against the Madison County teams and the other teams from the Arabian Roundup.
She defended 2 championships. She broke 3 records in one go. Just an absolutely incredible run.
Machine.
And basically did it by herself with nobody pushing her. It was phenomenal.
She had pretty good weather to do that too. I'm happy they waited till the evening to run the races, and then that got cooler weather.
Yeah, it's actually been rough the last few years. The county meets fallen on a very, very hot day, and I think it was and that's the same as happened at the Roundup, and then last year the Roundup got postponed a couple times because of rain. So it was a perfect day to run. And Zoeller, sophomore, 3rd place at the state finals last year. Prior to today, the Madison County meet record was 18 minutes, 18 seconds. And the course record there at Pendleton was 18 minutes and 6 seconds. Both were set by Ava Gerald, who we know very well. Just graduated. She's at IU now, back in 2023. Anya Zoeller tonight ran 17 minutes and 38 seconds.
What?
Wow. How many boys did her?
What?
How many boys would she have beaten tonight?
If she had been running in the boys' race, she would have finished 6th.
Wow. That is
And it was actually a pretty fast boys' race. The winner of the boys' race was under 16 minutes. So, it was, yeah, exactly. That your reaction is exactly what I was doing. She had just a huge lead. She is absolutely head and shoulders above everybody else in this area. But she never looks like she's working real hard. She just has that natural runner's body, those long legs, and just that gait. She never looks like she's working hard, She came up over that hill down toward the finish line, and I looked over my shoulder at the clock, and I was like, this is going to be incredible. I think the clock had just hit 17 minutes when she came into view, and I was like, how low is she going to go? It's 17:38, beats the course record by 38 seconds, and that's a slow course. That's considered a slow course there at Pendleton. Wow. Nobody you talked to there wasn't saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I just saw. I was just saying, you think about the history. Alex Buck, Ava Gerald, Faith Bear, all these kids who went to the state and were all state, and nobody ever has been under 18 minutes on that course. Just unbelievable. And that includes all those years of sectional when Hamilton Southeastern and Fishers were coming to that sectional, and Mount Vernon, and so many great athletes that have run at that sectional on the girls' side, and nobody's ever been under 18 minutes till today on that course. Way by a lot. Yeah, I could go on all night, but you don't want me to do that. Maddie Marsh, who, by the way, has been our 2nd or 3rd best cross-country runner in this county all 3 years.
That's right.
She was 2nd in county as a freshman. She was 3rd last year, behind Gerald and Zoeller. She comes in 2nd tonight, again. Amazing. 3 minutes behind. 3 minutes.
Wow.
That's how incredible, dominant. Well, 2 minutes and 59 seconds. I'm sure Maddie would want that second. But, you just shake your head. And hats off to lapel freshman Sarah Combs. She comes in 3rd. She got in and picked her way through the field toward the end. She was right 8th or 9th at about the 1 mile mark, and just kind of started picking people off, worked her way up to 3rd. But it was certainly the first wow moment of the fall. Maybe alongside what the lapel girls golf team is, some of the scores the lapel girls golf team is putting up, but just individually, just the first wow moment of the 2025-2026 season.
So the Pendleton Heights girls are county champions again. I assume the Pendleton Heights boys are as well.
Yes, they did. The Pendleton Heights swept both. I mean, they've won both the boys and girls county and Arabian Roundup championships. And Simon Nicholson of LaPel was the individual winner in the boys race. He and Benson Davis flip-flopped their spots from a year ago. Davis was runner-up tonight. Nicholson's been running some really good times early in the year. He's been, I think, in 4 races, he's been under 16 minutes 3 times. Or maybe it's 3 for 3. Maybe he's just been in 3 races, but under 16 minutes. Either way, it's his 3rd time under 16 minutes. He finishes in 15:59, a much closer margin of victory. Benson was 9 seconds back. Had him in sight, but just couldn't quite close that gap down the stretch. Jack Combs of LaPel was 3rd, and Zach White of Pendleton Heights was 4th. And, you know, the Arabians, I think, took 7 of the 10 all-county spots on the boys' side. The 2 LaPel kids, plus Cooper King from Anderson was 7th tonight. So pretty dominant night for the Arabians, which has, you know, become the norm at that race.
Rob, how can people read your work, and what are you working on besides cross-country?
Well, you can find me at Herald-Bulletin.com, or you can pick up a copy of the Herald-Bulletin at newsstands. Let's see, the rest of this week, tomorrow I will be at soccer. I'm going to finally get my first look at the LaPel girls soccer team this year. Defending sectional champs, they've started unbeaten, and they have not been scored upon yet. So we'll go out there and get our first look at them, and then Friday I will be at the Madison County Tennis Championship. Tomorrow's a day I almost wish I could be in 2 places at once, because that might be the best set of semifinals we've had in a while on the boys' side. Pendleton Heights and Frankton are going to play in one semifinal. That's a rematch of a 3-2 match a week ago. And then LaPel and Alexandria, maybe 2 of the favorites to win this thing, are playing on the other side. So should be some good tennis tomorrow. Look forward to that final on Friday.
Thanks, Rob.
Absolutely, anytime.
Before coming by Stage 22 to make her high school football picks, which once again out later Thursday, and to interview some high school football coaches out Friday, Michelle Garmon covered some high school tennis on Wednesday. The Frankton Eagles defeated the Elwood Panthers 5-0. She has an update on that. And Tipton also won its 6th straight match. Here's Michelle's report.
Yeah, it was the opening round of the Madison County tournament. The match was played here at Elwood, and Frankton won 5-0. The Eagles kind of dominated the doubles matches, with Braxton Mort and Eli Birch winning 6-0, 6-1 over the Lever twins at number 1 doubles, and then Jack Feddick and Davis Blockson were 6-1, 6-1 winners over Jacob Schmidt, who they call Peanut. They call him Peanut, and Braxton Daly. The more competitive matches were the singles matches, and even though Frankton swept all of them, I mean, they lasted, especially number 1 singles. Eli Cox and Liam Cannon were the last 2 off the court. Eli won 6-3, 6-4, but they had a lot of long, really good volleys. At number 2, freshman Aiden Robson, who looks like he's about 7 feet tall and can just stretch out.
Because he is about 7 feet tall.
Yeah, and cover the whole court. He was a 6-2, 6-2 winner over Jackson Gordon. And at 3 singles...
they might see each other on the basketball court.
Yes. At 3 singles, Josh Hobbs defeated Drake Casada 6-2, 6-3. Frankton goes on to play Pendleton Heights on Thursday, today. And then Elwood plays Madison Graham. Don't know exactly where these sites are going to be played, or these matches are going to be played yet. Check out your school's websites and social media feeds, because they will post them in the morning where their tennis team is playing. So, and then one other quick tennis note. Tipton hosted Carroll on Monday. They won 4-1. It was their 6th straight win. They're 6-1 on the year. It's one of the best starts ever, or in recent years, for the Blue Devils. And Evan Coe at number 1 singles and Owen Spidell were straight set winners, and they are both 7-0 on the year. So that's number 1 and number 2 singles.
So their only loss was a 3-2 loss.
Yes, the 3-2
Frankton,
loss to
right?
Frankton, who they'll see again in a couple weeks.
And probably again in the sectional.
Yes, and Tipton is back in action today. They host Yorktown, so that should be a really good test, especially for Evan and Owen.
Thanks, Michelle.
Welcome.
Thanks so much to Andy Steele, Kyle Neddenriep, Elijah Poe, Rob Hunt, and a very special thank you to Michelle Garmon for spending a lot of evenings with me podcasting. Always appreciate her time. She is the best. And thank you so much for listening. Please, please do us a huge favor. Share this podcast with the Central Indiana sports fan in your life. It's really good, and your friends and family deserve a really good podcast. Help us spread the word. The Central Indiana Sports Report is here talking Central Indiana sports every single day. Thanks so much. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.